Snap and Stuff live.
My bros.
And things?
Added some names on the screen. Boom, boom, boom. Right there. Right there.
Boom.
That's
Down there.
classy.
Oh, Snap, Crackle, Pop. Did I do that wrong? I think it's this way, actually.
Is that
This way.
rap?
That is Old Manchester. For those of you who don't know, second place at LVO and winning tournaments for the last 22 years, but 0 people know who he is, and it's amazing. And we love to rub it in all the time.
But he's old. He's old.
He is old. I don't understand how are you still operating in this time of changing climates, right?
What I do is I take a lot of drugs, and I have an entire support staff that makes sure that I wander around aimlessly, and it works out in the end.
I feel like
Brad, you could beat anyone in 40k at the retirement home.
That's not true, actually. That's not true. I heard there's some sneaky retirement guys in there. Very cagey players. They go after your drugs. They figure if you can't get your daily dose in, then can't even play.
Without the thyroid medicine, you're fucked.
Gentleman Gaming is available on Pornhub and most other streaming platforms.
I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't go that way. Don't feed the Corey, because if you feed the Corey, we don't know what could happen.
It's literally like Gremlins after midnight, bro.
It's rough, dude.
No food, no water after midnight. That's the rule.
We're gonna pivot from our usual talking about nothing Seinfeld approach to podcasting, and we're gonna focus this podcast in our best effort on something. We're gonna talk about terrain. We're gonna talk about terrain. We're gonna evaluate terrain. We're gonna talk about how important terrain is to us. What does it mean for 9th? And I just made up that table of contents, and it sounds good. And we're going to talk about some terrain that we want to showcase on the channel today as a sponsor of Gentleman Gaming. And we're going to go through some bad terrain as well. And we can start off with, why don't you guys give a quick 30-second, this is my opinion on terrain in 9th edition, starting with the Swede. We'll go to you first since you're so far away. Kick it off.
Yeah, I mean, it will take 30 seconds for my sound to reach the channel. So
that's why it's always so difficult matching your camera.
It'll actually sound like I went first, but you will have actually done
it. I can primarily talk about Swedish tournaments, right? So far, I think the amount of terrain is really good in Sweden. I love the amount of lost blockers. I actually enjoy interacting with the terrain pieces. I think we have good amounts of terrain in Sweden. What really bugs me out is that we're still using the corporate terrain we had in ITC. And we're still reusing that same pieces in the same placement, right? So I don't think so far. I've gone to 5 tournaments and played 64 games so far. And I've never seen battlefield debris fielded. I've never seen an industrial structure. I've never seen an imperial statue. I've never seen a barricade or a fuel line. Those are the ones I haven't seen. Which, I mean, it could be fine, but there's rules for this shit. I think we should try to toss some other stuff in there, except ruins, ruin walls, and forests.
Tell the Irish to stop stealing our mojo. Paul's in the house.
So I'm looking forward to actually interact with more terrain pieces. I think that would be interesting. I think it would be good. I mean, there actually are some interesting rules with getting +1 to save, longer engagement range, and other features that we don't have to go into because I don't have to explain the rules of terrain. But I think it would be super interesting to remove some of those ruins and do other things instead, right?
Trying to run an event during COVID and not taking into consideration the drastic changes that 9th edition brings to the game when it comes to terrain is really, really big. And having a tournament where you did not take the time, effort, or put in the work required to ensure that everyone that comes to your tournament has a realistic 9th experience, right? And no one walks away feeling as though they played on a board with nothing and lost the tournament and had to go to this, location from very, very far potentially. I think it's pivotal, right? Because there's so few tournaments right now. Getting a bad experience like that could really impact the hobby and impact the game and impact people's perception of what 9th is. And I don't want that to happen. I want people to understand that 9th is a game where terrain is super, super important. And it's not just trying to ensure you're using all of the aspects of terrain, which I think Daniel is a great point. I think we're seeing a lot of ruined walls and a lot of obscuring, but not a lot of the other stuff, like the other really cool things that we've had. And there's a cool FAQ, or not FAQ, sorry. It's a PDF that I saw on Facebook on a G drive that someone just compiled all the cool terrain stuff into one file that was really easy to read. I like that one a lot. I'll share it actually in the comments when we're done podcasting.
I mean, to be frank, I've been to several tournaments where they've actually had the official model for an Imperial statue.
Yeah.
And we actually play with that. Been played as an Imperial statue. And I don't know. You don't have to love everything Games Workshop does. And you don't have to adapt to everything. It's up to the tournament organizer. I think that's fine. But when we actually, for once, have really good rules for terrain, I think we should utilize more of those rules. I think it would give more depth to the game. It would diversify the game a bit. And I think the difference between ruined walls and ruins is actually the biggest thing. Because most of the tournaments I go to only play ruins, even if the ruin is obviously a ruined wall. And they have very different rules.
Hugely different. I have the extra range, they're dense terrain, they're not light cover.
They're defense line, breachable, dense cover, not light cover. So it's very different. They're defensible and on unstable position, while ruins are area terrain and an obstacle. They're scalable, breachable, light cover, defensible, and obscuring. It's totally different. But when you're playing it, everyone is just saying, yeah, that's a ruin. Let's make up like an area around this obvious ruin wall. I don't know. It's like we don't need chapter approved. We can toss that away and just play like we used to do.
It's kind of cool because in the Snig House and where we play test all the time, we actually play with all those. We have the industrial whatever, the Imperial statue, the pipes and stuff like that, and we play them as they're supposed to be. And then we have ruined walls and ruins and stuff like that. And it is way different. It makes a lot of difference. You get the extra, especially the ruins and ruined wall. You get the extra distance that you can interact if you can't go through it. So you can actually charge farther. So,
think about knights,
Yeah, knights, vehicles, anybody that can't, monsters, whoever.
And knights, total difference. Because knights can't go into a ruin, but they get extra engagement range through a ruined wall, right? Because it's a defense line. So it's like 2 inches or no charging at all. It's like so big differences. Yeah. I think we suffer a little bit more in Sweden because we're preparing for the WTC, and they're playing with a very limited set of actual terrain pieces.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to send as a comment to Neil, of course, who's probably listening. So that's a comment to him now.
Neil is a listener. That is the comment. There, snip it, tag it, tag the time right there, Neil. Just someone tag the time. Hashtag Neil.
Yeah, I mean, Josh is right on that. I mean, the playtesters we try to play with all the different rules, and it does make a huge difference when you play because you're interacting with stuff. You want to take. That's half the reason that most of my armies look like they do, with lots of different infantry and stuff like that, because I want to interact with most of the different pieces.
Yeah.
So it does make a big difference on those. A lot of them have different effects and stuff. I mean, the close combat thing, and a lot of people just even forget all of that. Just the +1
defensible is huge, man.
Yes,
it's huge.
It's very big. Yes.
Also, when people a lot of times won't want to be in certain units. When they're trying to do multi charges, because anybody that survives, that +1 to hits,
Plus one hits huge.
Also, a lot of times you've got a unit that actually is pretty shooty. If I can hit on 5s,
Overwatch.
Overwatch. Yeah, you get some plasma, some grav, whatever.
Like any orc unit in a ruin hits us when it shoots normally, man.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And still exploding 6s.
Or flash kits. Or flash kits hit you on 3s, potentially.
Yeah.
Which could get really gross. But yeah, no, I totally we can't stress this enough. There's whole units that we ignore in codexes because they hit on 4s. So like having a terrain element where you get that +1 to hit, having these diversity of terrain just it's going to make player skill essentially impact the game so much more than it would be without this information, right? Like, so a lot of people want to see competitive 40K. A lot of people want to see 40K get into the realm of, truly being almost like an esport tabletop thing that would really revolutionize what esports are, right? But there is a large group of people that are trying to make that real. The more complexity and the more aspects you put into the game, the more ability you allow players to really truly show how much better they are. That's going to that's going to lead to that success. That's how video games do it, right? When you play a video game and you play Call of Duty or something like that, right? And you start playing against the best of the best or watching the best of the best play, you almost think like they have cheat codes. And that's how those teams get born. That's how that stuff works. So the more aspects to the game will only lead to an increase in the skill gap, which will lead to a much, much more realistic version of like people wanting to watch other people play. Because you're not going to want to watch someone play who does everything the same way you do it. That might not be as exciting as seeing someone do things that you've never even considered because you don't have a tournament that has terrain that.
I like it. Especially if you're looking at esport on that, you have the drop downs, you have everything to show people what the rules are for each piece of terrain. People can interact with those pieces of terrain. I love those special things Daniel was bringing up. I love playing with those because they all have slightly different rules. A lot of them just have things that just you can get a little more of an advantage on. You might actually want to be near there. And it's just different each time. You know what I mean? That you're looking at. You're not just playing wall and ruin. You know what I mean? But the thing is that I would still like to go to. I would always rather have too much of the same type of terrain than very little terrain. And matter of fact, I can share. Do you have that picture up, or do you want me to share my screen?
I got it. No, I got it right now. Let's pull it up.
Basically, I would rather play on I would rather have the Daniel Swedish problem than this problem. And this is horrific, man. You just can't play on tables that don't have terrain. Not enough. Not even just enough blocking, but enough terrain. Period. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not a fun game if going first or second, playing against someone, you have no options. You don't have tactics. Right now, Daniel and I play the game, and he has his AdMech right now, and I just deploy where I'm standing on that forest right there. What the fuck am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? He can literally see me with every unit in his army. What's my tactical response to this? Hope he doesn't shoot at me? Trank dart him? Like, I can't, I literally imagine playing.
Buy me a lot of drinks.
Yeah, just literally, you could be at board quarters right here, and I have literally nowhere to deploy that he can't see me with every single gun in his army.
Yeah, I mean, the middles are totally open, like just totally open in this board.
It's not even just, you don't have nowhere to deploy. You literally have that's one of my biggest things is that you have to have at least somewhere to deploy that your opponent can't just shoot you with his whole army. There's no tactics there. Yeah. You just go, oh, I can see you're dead.
Yeah, this is 100%. This is 100% a pray for first turn kind of board.
The advocate for differences and not corporate 40k would say, I like that some boards are more open than others because I think you shouldn't promote the same type of army. But I mean, that board is just stupid.
Yeah, there's more.
It's just
stupid. Oh yeah, it feels like literally that they went. Yeah, exactly. Logan said it right. It looks like the board is halfway set up. Like they just forgot about that. But they were like, and we're gonna walk away now. Yeah, when exactly when strategy and tactics fail, throat punch. It's just you don't want a game where it feels like your skill level makes no difference whatsoever, and it goes down to
it's just the roll to who starts.
Yeah, it's just so dumb on that. It's just And this is something that Mr. Pajama Pants and I were going to go to, and we decided against it, and it would have been a little bit of a trip for us, and we would have been not super happy about it.
I would have been really upset. I did not go. I got called last minute to the event. We're not going to name the event, obviously, but I got called last minute from a wait list, which I really appreciated. They handled that really, really well. And because of COVID, I just responded back saying I can't make it because COVID pretty much increased everywhere. So I'm just trying to stay safe. But I did get some pictures of that terrain, and I would have been very upset if I drove 8 hours to a tournament to see that board. And I've seen tournaments during COVID, and I'm not trying to bash tournament organizers. If you're running a tournament, trust me, I 100% understand how difficult that is. I ran the Chicago.
We're all behind you, and anyone that's running it, we fucking love you because we love to go to them.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, we love to go to them. And I ran the Chicago tournament circuit for 2 years here. While now. It's been a while since I did that. We had the Chris Hill Cup. Shout outs to Chris Hill. Great guy. And we had an AWC league here in the Chicagoland area when we had the Chicago Battle Bunker. So I know how hard it is to run events, and it's not easy at all. And terrain is one of the largest problems anyone has, regardless. And I think with 9th, it's expanded. The problem is way bigger because you need more terrain and you need more diversity. And I love Daniel's idea. I hated LVO's top 100 tables all the same. I hate anything all the same. I like the fact that generals have to think on the spot, have to adjust for the terrain differences in the game, have to come up with a new strategy or new approach. When everything is the same, you might as well just create a PowerPoint presentation for yourself on how exactly you're going to play every mission.
Flowchart.
Yeah, just a flowchart.
Oh,
I'm going to go here.
I'm a big fan of right now. If you want to go a little bit in the middle, for me, if you went instead of just all random all the time, so you don't get boards that we just showed. But
no. You can't have boards like that, Brad. I'm not saying that.
That board's a dumpster fire. But I'm saying, basically, if you had a light, medium, Josh was just talking about it. You have a light, a medium, and a heavy board, and the light board isn't a bowling alley. You know what I mean? It's just lighter. And then you have kind of standard layouts that, obviously they can be different types of terrain in there. But you have those 3 types of board, and you play on them each time. And each time you play, you have a symmetrical-esque, type of way where the one person's just not sitting completely wrecked, just standing out in the open. And I like that idea a lot because you have something different each time, and you can't just build your army specifically because I'm going to go into the middle behind this L. Excuse me, then I'm going to do this.
I've always actually thought that based on what you just said, Brad, that the ITC guys have been doing that from the get-go. This LVO was the first time I think we saw standardization. I don't know what's the catalyst for that, really. I don't see that as like a fair game. I think standardization on terrain isn't necessarily fair. Some armies are going to play the standard terrain better. I think randomization is better as long as the consistency and volume.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
If you always have 2 huge L's and you're playing orcs with smash guns, you're never going to shoot at anything relevant. For example,
it's a big problem.
But there's also
that's fine in some games. It's fine in some games. Some games it's like, fuck, this matchup sucked on this table.
Yeah,
because there's 2 big L's. But it shouldn't be every game because then you could just remove smash guns.
Yeah, you just build lists appropriate for the event.
Yeah, but
which is fine.
The reason, like the LVO thing they did, is because they didn't want the people were less worried about that than the feels bad of just getting exploded because you're standing with a tree in front of you.
Well, don't get exploded. Don't make. So like, let's not go to extremes. Let's not say.
Right,
I'm not trying to say.
Though, you have to have boards that if you have a light, medium, and heavy board, then you should adjust. No,
I'm not even saying have a light. I'm not even saying have a light, medium, heavy board. All the boards could have the exact same surface area of terrain, just different aspects of terrain. Let's not do 2 giant buildings in the middle every single table. I just don't want to be
standing there and go, you have 2 ruins.
Yeah, no. I'm not trying to,
and you can just kill me.
I'm not trying to go. Yeah. I'm not trying to go to the extreme, right? So saying that I don't like consistency on all the tables to be the exact same does not support the idea of I like barren boards. So that's not the case, right? It's somewhere in the middle, right? I think that's what we should be really pushing for, is probably not even somewhere in the middle, probably somewhere just slightly off of perfectly consistent, just slightly off. It's not perfectly consistent. They're not all the exact same. They're not all the same footprint, but relatively you're going to have 2 ruins, 2 obstructing pieces, 2 forests, 2 this, 2 that, whatever it is, and the same amount necessarily on each table. That's great. I mean, let's put it in perspective, right? What are the events that do this really well? One of them is right there behind me, that green skull on the wall. That's the Broadside Bash. The Broadside Bash has some really interesting terrain. I would say they might be going over the top in terms of thematic terrain. The second one is over there, and that's the Boys GT. I think the Boys do a fantastic job at terrain. It's different on every table. Yeah. It's different on every table.
But they have different elements. That's the thing is and that's what I go back to Daniel's thing on that also. There's so many different types of terrain that you could have that serve the same line of sight blocking purpose, interactive purpose, plus to save to plus to, defensible, just whatever. You could have so many more things. Like I love going to Du Bois with their terrain.
Yeah.
Just because it's so diverse. You have so many different elements there. Every table has a theme to it. You have chaos boards, Necron boards, orc boards, and they have all those things there. So the tables looks very thematic. It looks really cool. And let's be honest, it's always better to play 40k if you've got cool models, cool terrain, cool everything. But it serves its purpose. You know what I mean? You never feel like you're just standing there going, oh, I'm not, again, with that picture, I just don't want that to happen. That's what I'm always afraid of when we say we're going to super randomize tables. I'm always afraid that I'm going to get that table. You know what I mean? And I'm just going to be standing there going, well, fuck,
Yep.
I'm coming from a more emotional perspective, actually.
Like the Yard Boy, shut up.
I can build a super cool, really good list. And then
I think Val, wait, one sec, Daniel. I think Val is trying to make fun of how old we are. Because the tournaments I'm bringing up are super old, I guess. I don't know. Ardboys is like archaic. I mean, I did win 3 of them, and I have 3 free armies from Ardboys, but that's like the oldest tournament ever. Was there even any terrain on those boards? I don't even remember. I remember Ardboys being like, just bring the nastiest thing you can possibly pick up and bring it to an event and crush.
That was old school where everybody just played flat forests, which were abstract, remember?
Yeah,
that's
insane.
If they're complaining about your age, Alan, me and Brad has problems.
Yeah, you and Brad are toasted, bro. You guys are old as dirt.
No, but I'm addressing this more from a
Swedish perspective.
No, more of an emotional perspective. Like, I can bring the coolest orc list, right? With like a lot of shooty stuff, and I think I have a theme on
Orc Tau.
Yeah, exactly.
You could bring a Chin Orc list. Not anymore.
Yeah.
I retired it.
I can win a tournament because I have constructed my list in the right way because there's a corporate 40k element to it. Or I could lose a tournament because I met white scars on a table where they could hide. And I like that aspect of changing terrain, right?
Yeah.
So it should be, oh, fuck, I got the wrong pairing on the wrong table. And that's fine. It's fine. Me as a general now has to understand how to minimize my losses so I can end up top 3 instead of I know how every table looks, so I'll just build an army that suits for that and just play that table.
Yep.
That's where I'm coming from, and I've been doing that since we started talking about this. Like the corporate 40k problem is I still see it there. We're not utilizing all the effects of terrain. And we're still building ITC tables.
Yeah,
I've only gone to 5 tournaments, so it's not a empiric study with vast data, but that's the feeling I have. Like, there's not a big variety of tables, and there's definitely not a big variety of choices of terrain picks, right? It's the same.
I think you're right. Yeah, right now, which is unfortunate. But with the new rules, we have the ability to now use so many different types. And I think we've been asking for that as a community for a while. So now tournament organizers, and I think that's our general message, right? We're not trying to attack anyone, but our general message is if you're going to run an event, especially during COVID, where people have to travel and people have to like put themselves in risk to have fun for the game we like, try your best to have if you can't have a diversity of terrain, at least have enough terrain.
Just have enough. That's
on the board. Start at not.
That is number 1. 100% number 1.
Start at not that.
I agree with that. Number 1, have enough. Number 2, have a diversity.
Yeah, try to get some diversity. If you can't get diversity everywhere, try to get diversity on maybe like the top 2 tables so that you can at least ensure that like when you get the best of your event in the final rounds and they're undefeated and they're playing against each other and one of them deploys in a corner, the other guy could at least use the terrain on the board to win the game.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, you want different stuff. Obviously, you want cool looking terrain, but like, man, the number one thing is you're basically your base bottom. What you have to have in 9th edition is enough terrain to play the game, because the game is literally based on a fairly heavy set for GW's rules. You know what I mean? That's what they're looking at, is a fairly dense board that you can literally maneuver around, interact with things. And if you don't have that, you're not playing a 9th edition game. You know what I'm saying? You just aren't doing it. You know, the days of just straight up standing there and doing nothing are gone. You have to interact. I mean, you have to move and take objectives, score your secondaries. Those all involve movement and interaction, and that's what they want. They don't want people be just standing there. That's not what they want in the game. They want you to have to interact with your opponent, and having enough terrain makes you do that.
So Alex is asking us is how much is enough terrain, Brad? You're saying having enough terrain. How much is enough terrain? What percentage of the board, if we were to put all the terrain, like all the bases of all the terrain next to each other, how much of the 44 by 60 board does it take up now?
I think that depends on what terrain you're using. Going back to that. If you're only using obscuring ruins and forests, maybe, I don't know, 30%, 40% of the table.
Yeah.
But if you're using all of the different stuff we have in the book, craters and shit, it could easily be 60% of the table. It doesn't matter, because most of the stuff isn't loss blocking, right?
Yeah.
So it's just different things you can interact with. I'm going to stand with my Harlequins behind this crater because it gives me +1 save for some reason. Harlequins is a horrible example for
That's a bad example. Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying, though.
5-up save instead of a 4-up involve. I take that every time.
It's a horrible example, but you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
I'm using the worst examples here.
No, like Necrons. Necrons would be a good example for that one. Like +1 save on Necrons. That'd be great. Yeah.
It's vast. It's like Terminators, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to fucking route them.
Having a stat, go in next to a statue is kind of cool. Get the +1 leadership and stuff like that, man. It actually makes a difference sometimes.
100%. Yeah. Leadership is going to become more and more a thing, right? We're seeing a lot of aspects of the game. I don't want to go on a tangent with leadership. We could talk about that in another podcast, but it looks like a lot of things are impacting the leadership, and I'm curious where that's going to go, because it's getting kind of interesting every little snippet I see. But I'll answer Alex's question directly. I think you should have at least a third of the board as obscuring or ruin walls. So I think a third of the board needs to be that. Like if you were to put all of the terrain next to each other and put it in a corner, it would take up roughly a third of the surface area, and that would be obscuring and ruin walls. Now the rest of the terrain that's neither obscuring or a ruin wall, I think it's up to you really how much of it you want to apply, but I think you need at least some of it to make 50% of the board have some type of terrain. I think that's
going to go.
I think that's a really good call, because 30% of the board is, or a third of the board, 33% is a really good number to at least ensure that teams have places to hide. There's dynamics from an assault perspective. There's dynamics from securing the center of the board perspective. And then the extra features, the barricades, the craters, the extra things that don't block line of sight, just because they're taking up a footprint, doesn't really truly impact the narrative of the game or the way the game flows, other than benefiting from those cool extra features, which really, to be honest, the best tacticians are going to do. Most people are going to forget about them.
Skill moments.
Correct. Skill moments.
Super skill moments.
Yeah. And I think that's the key, right? Knowing how to implement those would be amazing. That's an extra level to 40K, I think. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Brad.
No, it's just I think I would go with the 50. I agree with exactly what you said. Going last to this, what you guys said, everything that I want to say, I would say the 50%, and then you need enough. But I do think it needs to be put out in a, like, again, you basically pay it so it's paired up nice for each, no matter what the thing is. I'm also not against moving terrain per the mission. You know what I mean? Like each table. I mean, if you really want to get in depth, you could actually just have like a quick drawing on each table.
That's troublesome in tournaments.
Yeah, but if you had like you just have where they should be per the thing, because I do like having a lot of the objectives not be able to be taken from just straight out behind terrain, so that you have to iterate things and decide when the best chance times to come out are.
I'm not sure I'm loving that actually. I think it's fine that you can take a piece of objective behind the terrain piece. I don't like having everything of the entire zone outside of a terrain piece.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Daniel. I would agree with you, Daniel. And the reason why is because it increases list building skill. You have to build a list then that can go and take an objective from your opponent behind a piece of terrain in the corner of the board.
No, I'm saying I don't like all of them. I would prefer to have like maybe 1 and 1 for each. You know what I mean? So they're not all.
I think it should be similarly distributed over the board. I agree with that. So you could change when you change a mission, you could move a ruin a little bit just to make both sides similar. That is what you should strive for, right?
Yeah.
But even then, there's a roll-off. Choosing side could also mean something.
Yeah, it can mean you get the benefit. So in Age of Sigmar, not to get off.
Back to the fact that I have a fucking really hard matchup now.
Yep.
I won that roll-off. I get to choose the slightly better side that gets, picking 2 objectives behind a ruin.
Yes, I'll give you that.
This is really important for me.
Yeah. In Age of Sigmar, often you roll. Well, not often. In games, you roll for terrain to have its abilities, and often you'll have one side get +1 to psychic powers, and that is the side a lot of people want. They'll have an army with a psyker, and they'll be like, "Oh, I want that side because my magic now gets +1 as long as I'm within range of that building." And the same thing would apply for damned terrain. So if you have terrain that like kills people that are near it, you put your opponent there. So, I mean, the same thing will apply now with 40k, +1 to save, not being able to be seen, +1 to hit, all that kind of stuff. That's all the same aspect now. We need to take it seriously and play with it, I think. I think it's a big part of competitive games.
And going back to my complaint about corporate 40k, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. That's sort of fucking if it's a little bit different and I get a horrible matchup, if I get the right side, I get the most benefit of that side. Maybe I can swing this really bad matchup to my benefit by picking the right side, playing wisely, playing conservatively, and maybe I can win 12-8 instead of losing 20-0, which I should do because I got all the benefits on my side. I don't think that necessarily is a bad thing. I understand that other people who are more like, this should be exactly the same and we're playing for exact same numbers. The best army is going to win, sort of. I disagree on that. I think small changes, small adjustments could make lesser armies win over greater armies by having small differences in terrain, in layout of objectives, in et cetera, et cetera.
So the biggest thing I think is that you just don't know coming in exactly what the setup's going to be, more so than just the.
So you can't build for it. That's the biggest thing I think is.
So you just get more diversity in armies.
Corporate 40k, because then you could build your army around a preset of rules and a preset of terrain. Not knowing.
I'm so afraid of having like a shit open board, with everything bad, that we're just watching Alan's video.
I was gonna try to do a window capture real quick. I wanted to jump over to this real quick.
I'm not saying it should be horrible terrain. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh no, that's not that. I'm just saying that I always err towards like more of a set, even though I would prefer. What is even happening here?
Don't worry about it. Just keep talking.
But I'm so worried about, because we've had tournaments in the past and in the present, apparently, where you just have epically bad terrain, and I'm just so worried about getting that happening again.
Yeah.
So I always, it's like I would rather have like a little bit of same to stop me from going, to go with just not having any terrain. You know what I mean?
So what you're saying, Brad, is you agree with me, but the risk of it being bad makes the corporate world feel safer.
Kind of, yes. Just because I'm worried. I'm worried about that. Basically, I agree 100% with where you're going. 100%. It's just that I'm worried about. Then they go, oh, okay, well, this table's different. You're like, no, that table's awful. Like,
yeah.
Look, we have a different table. It's an empty field.
I mean, that comes down to like.
Daniel, where's your
Fingerspitzgefühl, it's called in German, like fingertop feeling of the organizers, and I mean, some people don't have that.
All right,
so it could be.
Let's transition over to a couple questions. So, Alex, I know you answered a question earlier about the 4 inches. I personally don't think that's a rule anymore. I don't think there's any need to have terrain mandatory be 4 inches away from other terrain. There's some terrain elements now that are small. They're like we said, craters. They can be like, a fortification of some kind, like a small, like little, like, bunker thingy. Statues, stuff like that. Yeah.
Should probably be right next to another piece, tell you the truth.
Yeah. Like sandbag, like a sandbag little fort, like strip. I think I have one actually. I'll go grab one. I love those things as like a defensible piece of terrain, right? Like there's dudes hiding behind it, like just waiting to for people to come out. I think that's really, really nice. I don't know where Daniel went. Daniel just vanished. But
I'm here.
I'm assuming he ran out of wine. Oh, he's like, I'm going to make a sandwich during the stream, guys. Cause I can do that, I guess. Kill your backdrop then, I guess, so we can at least see you.
No, I want to see the party.
That's fine. Keep the party. It doesn't matter anyways, because we're gonna answer some more questions on here. I don't know if you had one, Brad, that you were looking at.
Yeah,
the corporate world. Oh, Val. So Val, I'll answer your question about the corporate world. We've been talking about that on our podcast for a while, and I would say Daniel's probably the main catalyst for creating that word or that term or the jargon, and that kind of relates to like everything trying to become like straightforward and straight lined on like the approach. So like what LVO did with like 100 tables all consistently the exact same, that Daniel refers to that as corporate 40k, because like it's trying to make the game more corporate level, more like standardized. So that's pretty much the jargon, I think. Daniel, did you want to elaborate on that any further on what you mean by corporate 40k?
No, but I think you're spot on your description, and I think the impact of the game is very different, because if you know exactly what table you're gonna play on, and on ITC, you also pretty much knew exactly what mission it was. Yeah. It was very easy to tailor your list to either hold more or kill more, and adapt it to the specific terrain. So I think your explanation was good enough.
Yep.
Alan.
Alex, you should be able to make your Land Raider go through spaces. You shouldn't build a board that's restrictive on the unit size, but like the Land Raider can go over like a crater, or you shouldn't put 2 ruin walls like within 2 inches of each other, and they're giant buildings. So I'd probably try to avoid that. So. Okay, you need to not do that.
Oh, that's a great thing, Joachim. I actually like that. Great, thank you for the great job. Can you post 3 types of tables that you guys enjoy? Do this without talking to each other, and I could use this as inspiration. You know what? I'll do that. Tell you the truth, I'll take 3 picks this week. I'll take 3 Saturday picks because I'll be playtesting with Snigs this weekend, and we do fairly heavy boards, and we usually set them up with a lot of different stuff on the board each time, and a lot of times we'll do
mute your computer. I can't take it.
A lot of times, I like a lot. I like to have a little bit of options too, as far as I like to have one objective that can be achieved from behind terrain and one objective that can't be achieved from behind terrain, and lots of difference. On our things, we almost always have one special piece, a couple rune walls, a couple ruins, and a couple of the forests, but then we also have the manufactorum, the statue, things of that nature.
I'll do the same.
I'm gonna write that down because I'm 1,000 and I'll forget for sure.
I don't need to write it down. I got you. We'll put it in this chat thread on here. We'll just answer back to you guys. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to pivot to show something. I think I got that to work. I've never done a window capture before. So I'm gonna try to see if this works. I'm also gonna see if the audio comes through. I don't know if the audio comes through. If it doesn't, we'll just talk through it. So I'm gonna play this.
Are you gonna play this Upzone stuff?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna play, but I don't know if you guys can hear it.
I can hear. Oh, at least I could for a second there. Please don't show us whatever you were watching on Pornhub.
Upzone is a new approach to gaming terrain. Designed from the ground up to be compact, easy to set up and cost effective. Traditional boards and terrain can take up a lot of room and also be time consuming to paint, build and set up. Upzone is a fully photoreal printed set of terrain that pops up from the modular boards. Fully compatible with Warhammer 40,000, Dungeons & Dragons,
not making it
Age
smaller.
of Sigmar, and many other tabletop and role-playing games.
They have some really cool models, by the way.
Upzone is made from modular game boards with terrain features on that can be arranged to form full 44-inch by 60-inch gaming areas or incredible dungeons. Made entirely from durable laminated boards and cards,
yes, it is.
The terrain can hold the weight of your models while still being able to fold completely flat and shake off normal gaming wear and tear. It's perfect if you don't have huge dedicated gaming spaces, limited hobby budgets, or enough time to build, paint, and set up such a huge amount of scenery.
I would bring my half of terrain
is complete gaming areas in a single set. Open the box and start gaming straight away. Back us on Kickstarter now and help us bring the full
So how big is each of these squares?
Tables.
I'm pretty sure the audio was coming through the whole time, Brad. So I don't think anyone heard any of your questions, by the way. But I will now hide this and we can talk about it. They are a pseudo sponsor of the show. We're going to call them a sponsor of the show. And I'm really excited to get our hands on this box of the terrain. I'm really pumped about it. So yeah, what are your thoughts, Brad? I know you had a bunch of like things you said during the actual infomercial on Kickstarter.
I like the idea of something that's easy to transport that you could bring. I would bring my half of the terrain if I could bring it, and something small. I mean, that literally is like takes up codex room, you know what I mean, kind of thing. I dig that though. I like the idea of that a lot. As long as it was high enough, you know what I mean. I didn't say how big they were, but yeah, I like this. I like this idea.
They look like 24. They look like 24 by 24.
It's foldable terrain.
It's foldable terrain. Yeah, you can see it when you come
I love it.
Yeah, it's like a 12 by 12 square, and then when you open it, it actually becomes like a 24. It might even be bigger than that. It might be like 18 or something.
I love it.
It looks really, really cool. I just put the link in the chat. Daniel, I sent you a link directly on our messenger so that you can look at it as well. I think it's a really cool idea. I really recommend that anyone who's watching, let people know if they have a terrain board, or let people know if you need terrain. I would really support their Kickstarter. These are, some of our fellow gamers making a company during COVID. It's pretty amazing. And this is the first Kickstarter. I was, one of the early people that kind of heard about this. So I was really excited about it. So I would highly recommend looking into it and seeing what they can provide. So, oh, cool. Alex already knows about it. Nice. Very nice.
I dig this though. I like this idea a lot. Just because you can actually just slam down a board wherever you are too.
Yeah, and I'm curious how customizable they're going to get. Obviously, it's a Kickstarter, which everyone down here probably already knows. Kickstarters are basically proof of concepts, right? It's a POC where he's trying to get funding for a product, but without selling equity of the company, he's just selling product in advance. So, I mean, assuming this goes well, he might get investors, and he might get, a very much more, I would say customizable approach to what he's making. Because I would assume that if he proves the concept, he can then build on the palette selection, and we can have different sizes, different shapes. You can potentially make your terrain in a program and have him actually print it, because pop-out terrain is a lot easier than making some of the other terrain. The laser cut MDF and other stuff like that. It takes a lot of effort to build, make, all that kind of stuff. And this stuff's really, really cool. And think about the idea of having to go to a tournament where they want you to bring terrain. Well, now you could bring a whole board, and it fits in the same dimensions as your codex, basically, or less, considering how many codexes you need to bring to your event. So
Jesus.
If you're a chaos player, now you have to bring 18 code.
If you're a chaos player, you could bring equivalent of 12 tables to the same tournament that you brought your books to. So I highly recommend it. I put the link in the description. Feel free to check them out. We don't have a code or anything like that right now, but feel free to check them out and become a Kickstart supporter because they're awesome, and I like supporting cool stuff. We're gonna have some other stuff to support too in the future. I know we have Cisco has a connect to building some really customizable tables. So if you're interested in building a gaming table, like a serious gaming table, we have a company that can help you out with that as well. And we are also looking into dice trays, customized leather bounded dice trays that are really, really cool. They can have your logo in them. We'll be having information on that too in the future. So lots of cool stuff. And Brad, as always,
I have a question to you guys about terrain.
Yeah. Go ahead.
How do you play forests?
What part of it? Like what specifically are you asking?
You are aware that if there's 2 trees on a plate of forest piece and
a footprint. The word you're looking for is footprint.
Yeah. Thank you. I was looking for that word. I wanted to say plate, but yeah. And a vehicle doesn't fit in between those 2 trees. It can't go there, right? Because vehicles can't move through foliage.
They can't physically move. Yeah, if something blocks them, they still can't move, technically.
Oh. Yeah. So the question is, how do you play with trees? You guys. I mean, what we've done is we've been putting like X marks where the trees are so we can move them because it's horrible to play with trees.
Yes. I usually play with... Yeah, I usually play with small type forests, not with the giant trees on them. So it usually doesn't come up as much. But yeah, we usually move the same thing. Just so it's ease of movement and everything else. Agreed on that. Make it easy, make it fair, make it cool. All of the goodness. Fate Weaver behind me says, always do scammy stuff.
The moment you found out you could put a backdrop of Fate Weaver, wow, it's the happiest. It's like the happiest.
Only
kid
took
I've ever
me
seen.
a year.
I'm gonna make you put like a picture of a board you like from a terrain perspective as your background moving forward. I would answer your question, Daniel, as there's almost nobody playing vehicles here anymore. So I very rarely get a vehicle player. If any. Really? And yeah, no, seriously.
Don't fly.
I play Brad, who like despises vehicles and never plays them.
With a passion.
and like I don't really play too many people who have vehicles now that I think about it, right? Everyone's pretty much playing like, horde infantry, large bricks of infantry, tons of infantry, and then some bikes and some other bikes.
Then the trees isn't a problem.
Yeah, and trees are most likely not a problem. I haven't had a game actually in 9th with heavy vehicles except for Sisters. And in the Sisters game, the trees didn't come up because they basically like just got out of the vehicles right away and like rushed up and murdered everything. So still it was like, oh, my rhino can't go there? Cool. I'll put my rhino here. And then these guys will get out and just murder everything next turn. So that's typically what I've seen. I haven't seen anything outside of that yet, but yeah, obviously if you're playing a game, and there's 2 trees and things can't fit in between them, then for sure. Yeah. Play the game the way it's supposed to be played. So can't fit through.
We have to change how our description is, because I do like Kurt's description of our stream: a hobo Albanian kidnapper and a socialist. Can we notice this?
Who's the hobo Albanian? Is that Brad?
No, you're the Albanian. Brad is the hobo, and I'm the
Kurt.
Hobo
Kurt, you will understand how I respond to this joke with your wedding gift, by the way.
Is it an even bigger thumb than his?
It's gonna be a rough day for you, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. The apothecary can't bring back vehicles. All bikes and infantry, baby.
Yeah, the apothecary can't bring back vehicles. Yeah, we have to make a ton of those bikes. Can we segue to FAQ real quick in the last 10 minutes? I think we've hammered terrain, right, guys? I think we're good. Yeah. So FAQ looks like the apothecary is still.
Lack of it.
Yeah, or the lack of it. That's what I said in the comments. I was like, what FAQ? But the apothecary is still just yoked. He's just
Yeah, he's just doing whatever you want to do.
He's just right? The apothecary didn't need to be changed. The apothecary for the first time, dude, the apothecary was so bad for so long that I didn't know what he looked like. So I have no problem with the apothecary thing. The thing that I thought would be changed, which is why I purchased absolutely 0 of them, was the ATV thing. I thought they would just be given the vehicles and they wouldn't be able to be resurrected by the apothecary. And I think a lot of people thought that was coming in this errata. And the other thing is I don't know if this is the end of that errata.
You call the erotica?
Erotica.
Here's my take, Brad. It's a gimmick and it's crap. My take is that resurrecting those bikes is stupid. Those bikes suck, and I wouldn't even play with them. That's my take. I've not been impressed by them in any game I've faced them, and I've just ignored them and won the game. And I don't care about those bikes.
I agree. I think that GW is trying to stay away from feels bad's moments, even if they're completely playable around.
Yeah.
Just so they could make the game just feel easier to interact.
I think it's a gimmick that looks cool on paper, but in the grand scheme of things, doesn't really matter. So if they keep it where you could bring back a bike, cool.
Alan, it really matters if you're trying to kill the fucking ATVs. And they don't die, and they come back. It matters a lot.
No, don't kill the ATVs. Make a new strategy. You were just talking about before how you're going to come up with a strategy when the board is different. We'll come up with a strategy now that they could bring back ATVs.
No. I agree with you, Alan. I'm just saying it matters a lot if you're trying to kill them. But you don't necessarily have to kill them to win the game.
Don't
maybe you can work around this problem. Yeah. I agree.
Do you guys think that they're going to have more? I feel like there's just going to be more FAQ. I don't even know. I'm just saying that I feel like
there wasn't enough FAQ. I think the big thing for me, I noticed that the Nightbringer can't switch powers. C-Tans can't switch powers, so they voted on that. So that's taken out. Voted. Jesus Christ, I said voted. That's how much news I'm watching in America.
We're going to have to recount the FAQ.
Yeah, I know. Right?
Only 63% that voted against the C-Tan power. But
my lawyers are going to fight the Necrons for this C-Tan power thing. No, I noticed that. I mean, yeah, you're right, Brad. I think they're going to have more FAQs. I think they maybe had more FAQs and they held them back potentially to see how things kind of shape out. Because I would think that they don't necessarily need to fix the ATV thing, and if they can sell a bunch of bikes, I think they should sell a bunch of bikes and then nerf it after they sold like 100,000 bikes. I feel like that's a really good corporate model, right? Because a bunch of people.
You have some stocks in Games W.
I do have some stock in Games Workshop. Yes, I do.
And those are expensive. They come one.
There was this time. There was this weird time in 2007 where I said, I like stocks and I like playing Warhammer 40k. Why don't I buy some shares? And then I just totally forgot that I owned them until I became an adult, and that was kind of nice. But long story short, if they can sell a bunch of bikes, that'd be great. The last event we were at with Brad, I was in Toledo, and a bunch of people won gift cards, and like everyone that won a gift card was like, I really want these bikes, but I'm pretty sure they get FAQ'd that apothecaries can't bring them back, and they all held off from buying them. And we're like, well, now they're gonna all go buy them. So. Win-win, guys. Nice job with FAQ. That's what I gotta say. But you know, I'll get some as well.
FAQ didn't change anything that we need to discuss, really, is it?
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's more of the lack of things that we thought were going to come in. You know what I mean?
Correct.
I mean, also, to be fair, I did think that we were going to get the command prices at the higher prices, which everybody has been using, even Battlescribe's actually using. And they actually ended up being the lower prices. Yeah. So it actually opened up 20 points in my army now.
2 powers, 4 power surge.
Yeah, an FAQ false flag. And I feel it too. I feel like they're going to be like, this is the FAQ. Absolutely nothing's there. Oh, look inside the box. Bam, uppercut. Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
You shouldn't have looked there. It's a Jokey Smurfs fucking present to you, bro. You got to watch out.
Well, I think we did really good on staying on topic with terrain today, guys. Right? I just want to say I'm really proud of.
Good, actually.
I'm really proud of the group here. We didn't go off on a tangent on noodling or about
6 minutes left.
Deep frying turkeys.
I want to hear about noodling.
You know what I'd like to talk about for our next 6 minutes is Thanksgiving. We have Thanksgiving coming up.
Best holiday.
And yeah, I would agree with Brad.
What is Thanksgiving? You eat like
Thanksgiving is an excuse to get together with family and cook a lot of food that no one can possibly eat in one sitting.
But you only eat food that no one wants to eat, right?
No, that's not true. That's not true. No. Give me a sec, Daniel. If you don't think this sounds like good food, then at the end of this, I'll have to invite you to a Thanksgiving and prove you wrong. But you get together with family, you make enough food so that you don't have to eat anything other than this food for 4 days because it's just leftovers for like half a week. What we're doing this year, and I do every year, is this is the first year I'm going to do it, though. My dad usually does it, is deep frying turkeys. So we get like a big pot. And it's a common thing. I'm sure a lot of people do it. So we get a big pot of turkey.
They exploded though. I miss the old days of people throwing frozen turkeys into the deep fryer.
Do not dry turkey, boys and girls. If you're deep frying a turkey, let's be real, boys. If you're deep frying a turkey, make sure it's dry. That's not because girls don't deep fry turkeys. That's because there's no girls listening to this channel. So that's why I was being real.
Exactly.
Except for maybe Brit. Deep frying a turkey, Daniel, in peanut oil, and then inside you can coat it on the inside of the turkey with like bacon strips. You can even put like a small duck inside of it and deep fry that too. The flavor that you get from that is insanity. Also, mashed potatoes. Everyone loves mashed potatoes. Carrot cake.
It's excellent.
Delicious.
Pretty sure it's a Swedish invention.
Some gravy, some cherries, a little bit of cherries with your turkey. Delicious. I'm so excited. That's what I'm really pumped for. I'm not going noodling anytime soon just because it's getting colder, and I'm not going to be noodling. But I do want to do an episode where you come from Sweden, me and Brad, we drive down to Tennessee, you meet us there, we go noodling, or Georgia, and we catch like 150-pound catfish with our fingers. I feel like it'd be amazing.
With ducks inside.
With ducks inside.
No, you don't deep fry a cat. Well, you do deep fry a catfish, but you don't put anything in it. We could do a fish fry. Good old-fashioned fish fry. That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
Teach you the American way.
Man, I'm so psyched up for Thanksgiving.
Now I'm hungry. Now you guys made me
tons
hungry.
Of food.
That's next weekend? This weekend? Or?
The week after. So it's not this Thursday, it's the Thursday after that.
Yeah. So we're doing the next part on Tuesday?
Yeah, podcasts. That's a good announcement, actually. We're going to try to do a more official schedule for everyone watching. We're going to be starting to repost these on YouTube as well, so those who are watching on YouTube can get it there and from that perspective as well. But we're going to be going on Tuesdays at noon on a regular basis now instead of kind of just whenever the hell we want. And we're going to be trying to focus on specific topics as well. So that's kind of the approach. So this week we handled terrain. Next week we'll probably handle something else. We'll let you guys know if there's any suggestions in the comments. We'll take those into consideration for sure, and we'll hammer out a specific topic that you guys want to hear about. So,
and yes, we are trying. We're actually gonna put these out on. I don't know. We've looked at a couple different places to release them as far as that. So we will be putting these out as just podcasts. I actually don't know what we decided we were going to use. We're kind of up in the air on that.
Yeah, we're going to use Podbean for podcasts, so we're going to do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to start doing Podbean podcasts as well and start just kind of moving forward. Restream is nice. I got to get it so that you can do Facebook, though. You got to pay more for Facebook. Restream can do like Twitch and YouTube. And
everyone listening, we're still going to do like shadow pop-up streams when we're drunk, right?
Yes,
100%.
No, yeah, come on,
100%. Yeah. If Brad is drunk, he just on accident goes, "I should go live right now."
Yeah, all the time.
He's just in my garage, like, I should go live right now. Why? Because I'm drunk.
People need to. I'm so drunk. People need to hear what I have to say.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that our listeners didn't think we were totally corporate.
Yeah, we're not totally corporate. We're not going total corporate. We have some sponsors, and we're getting a regular time and a regular structure. Oh my God, guys, are we going corporate? Son of a bitch. It just snuck up on me. It came out of nowhere. It's like right there. I was like, what the hell? And if you guys didn't see on YouTube, go on and see our video on Sunday discussing the WTC Team Swedish top 4 picks by Daniel. I've been told by peoples that it was hilarious. And I didn't know why. We were just talking about normal people. So I have no idea why it's hilarious. If you want to figure it out, you'd have to go to YouTube, Gentleman Gaming, and check out our video on Sunday about announcing the 4 top players for the WTC. So
somebody played some games today and streamed them directly to YouTube and to Twitch today. Yeah.
Not 40k games. Boring, stupid Hearthstone games.
I talked about it 40k the whole time. You shut your face. It's my sub channel. God damn it! I'll put whatever I want. I'll start cooking with Robert. I'll make sandwiches with Daniel.
No, Swedish chef.
That's actually a great idea. Yeah, that's actually a great idea. All right, guys. I don't know if this music's gonna play. I'm gonna try.